Pledge of Allegiance, an American tradition recited all across the nation, from sports games to concerts to schools. The pledge represents an allegiance to the flag and the Republic of the United States. The pledge for many Americans holds a strong sense of pride and patriotism. The first version was written in 1892 by a man named Francis Bellamy. The original pledge read, "We give our heads and our hearts to God and our country, one language, one flag." Throughout the 1900s, the pledge went through many changes, including getting rid of what was known as the Bellamy salute, which was the original salute used during the pledge. It mirrored the Nazi salute too closely and was eventually changed to placing your right hand across your heart. The Pledge of Allegiance has been implemented into the school systems for as long as it has been around. Every morning from 1st to 12th grade, students are expected to rise for the pledge. But what happens if they don't? Standing for the pledge has become a widespread controversy over the past few years, with many students across the nation no longer standing for the pledge. Although this controversy seems very recent, this is not the first time students have gone against the pledge. In 1935, a Jehovah's Witness student named Carlton Nicholas had a religious indifference with the saying "one nation under God," and when he refused to participate in the pledge, he was expelled. His case made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the court ruled in favor of the school, saying that all public schools could enforce that students should participate in the pledge. That didn't last long though, because in 1943, the Supreme Court ruled that all public schools couldn't force students to participate in the pledge, as it went against basic rights of freedom. So, schools can't force students to stand for the pledge. But why are they sitting in the first place? Well, to truly understand, we must look outside of the classroom, to the NFL. In 2016, the 49ers were playing a preseason game when popular quarterback Colin Kaepernick sat during the national anthem as a nonviolent protest against racial injustice and systematic oppression in the United States. There were mixed reactions across the nation as he became the top headliner for the following weeks. At the end of the season, he was let go from the 49ers and remained unsigned the following year. This act rocked the country, and its implications on schools were big, as more and more students began having conversations on whether or not they should have to stand for the pledge. Many students began to sit. On one hand, students see sitting for the pledge as a way to say that they have a conflicting opinion about how the government deals with a certain issue, including racial injustice. They see sitting as a nonviolent way to express their ideas. On the other hand, students who do rise see it as a form of respect to the veterans of our country. Many argue that by not rising, students are disrespecting the people who have worked to gain our freedom. We went to Central Cabarrus to see how some of the students felt about standing for the pledge.
Do you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Why or why not?
I don't, because I gotta be an ally to my people of color.
Yes, I do stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, because I believe that when you are in a group of people, that you're kind of obligated to do it.
I do not, because I believe we as Americans do not respect the military. So I think the argument that kneeling is disrespectful is inherently incorrect. For the simple fact is that we as Americans don't fund things as the VA hospitals in helping veterans and service members after they get out to transition to normal life. So I think the disrespectful aspect gets thrown out of the water. The injustice that's happening to young black people across America needs to be highlighted and protested against, as such as those like Colin Kaepernick has protested against. I think that's very needed. Service members don't fight for a flag, they don't fight for an anthem, they don't fight for anything but the American way. They fight for Americans as a people. People don't lose their lives every day for a flag or an anthem. People lose their lives every day to help each other, to support each other, to save each other.
The Pledge of Allegiance will always be an important American tradition, but times are changing. Even if our opinions are different, we all as Americans can appreciate our right to freedom of speech, which allows us to have these conversations and share new ideas. At the end of the day, we all want what's best for our country. Do you think students should stand for the pledge?